the boy and I'll let you live. Do you hear me? Give me the boy.
In nearly 40 years, we've been lucky enough to get 8 different Chucky movies and 3 seasons of a TV show. I'm going to go ahead and rank them from worst to best. Before I do that, my name's Jared. This is my channel, Odd Hands. I used to produce art content from time to time on this channel. I really wasn't having a lot of fun doing that, so I wanted to repurpose this channel towards something I'm a bit more passionate about, which is talking about movies. I plan to release quite a bit of full-length content on this channel, as well as some shorts, mostly aimed at the horror genre, but also, really, any genre of film. So if you're, into that kind of stuff, consider liking, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel. With that being said, this comes to the point in the video, where, all these rankings seem to begin with, which, again, I'm stating that, my ranking of these movies is my opinion, but I'm not going to really apologize for that. If someone's triggered or offended by it, I really don't care one bit. So if you feel like flaming me in the comments, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. Go ahead and do that if you feel like it. I love a good confrontation. Odds are I will respond. But, I'm just going to warn anybody, if you're going to dish something out, say something out of pocket, you just got to be ready to take one on the chin in return, all right? Coming in at number 9 for me, bottom of the barrel, controversial take. It's the 2019 Child's Play remake. I didn't hate this movie from the onset. I don't hate this movie now. I'm not a, some kind of Don Mancini apologist. I do think that the way that they released this film sort of parallel to Mancini's ongoing franchise and his sort of, pathway into television being announced, I think it was a little shady. But, when you think about it, Mancini has taken this series and pulled it in so many different directions since those original 3 Child's Play films. I really think he's sort of created that separation where a remake like this is, has enough space to come into the game. He's created that separation himself. I kind of saying hold my beer and going wild a little bit. With that being said, I do think the movie is unnecessary, but they are well within their rights to make it, and I think they did a good job in choosing Karen. Karen's casting, Aubrey Plaza, she was great. Mark Hamill, the great Mark Hamill, he did a great job as Chucky, with what he was dealing with. But, in the end, it's just another rogue AI movie. It doesn't have any of the charm of that original movie. It doesn't have any of the nightmare-inducing moments. I don't feel like little kids are watching the 2019 remake and staying up at night thinking Chucky's under their bed. The original Child's Play had this sort of fairy tale whimsy to it, that music and that mood and just the, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film, and the 2019 movie just doesn't have that. And again, a remake isn't necessarily supposed to try to recreate that original feeling. It's supposed to do something new, which I think this movie does, or at least tries to do. But when you think about it, it's not new at all. How many different rogue AI movies have you seen? If you just take a rogue AI movie and you slap a horror franchise name on top of it, that doesn't make something new. It's just another rogue AI movie. And I mean, how many more of those movies do we really need? I don't hate the movie. I just think it's a really, really bad Chucky movie. Coming in at number 8 for me is Seed of Chucky. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Seed of Chucky is a better film than the 2019 remake. I just, like it a little bit better. I think that might be due in part to the fact that it's nearly 20 years old. It's had a lot of time to grow on me. Also, I'm a big fan of Wu-Tang Clan. Method Man's my favorite member of the group, and he did a lot of collaboration with Redman. I got into Redman's music because of that growing up. Also, I'm a huge fan of How High. It's a classic in my house. Well, with that being said, he's not a great actor. I think the film would have been a lot better if Tarantino would have played the role like it was originally planned. He probably would have put his foot down, and the film wouldn't have become the circus that it eventually did. While we're on the topic of directors too, it's cool to see the Pope of Trash, John Waters, realizing his dream of getting killed by Chucky. I'm a big fan of John Waters, both as an author and as a filmmaker, although the lead up to his death is a little weird. All that aside, I think that Seed of Chucky, the advantage that it has is Brad Dourif, really. I'm a huge Brad Dourif fan, not just as Chucky, but just as an actor in general. In my opinion, if there's a film and Brad Dourif is in it, that film is 25% better at least. Even if it's in like a 10-minute role, I'm there for it. I love the guy. I think he's a great actor. He's one of my favorites. With that being said though, I think Seed of Chucky missed a big opportunity involving Brad Dourif. I don't know if they ever had plans to have his human character or him as a human character in the meta aspect of the film. Jennifer Tilly plays Tiffany and a cinematic version of Jennifer Tilly. So why didn't Brad Dourif get to come in there and play himself? I don't know. Maybe there were some scheduling things going on. 2004, maybe he was, back in the day, maybe he was doing some Lord of the Rings stuff. Who knows? They squandered a lot of the potential that Bride of Chucky set up for them. We can beat those drums over and over again too. I think a lot of what that criticism leads into is the general specifics of what most people have to say about Seed of Chucky, and I don't even think that's the worst part of the film. I think that the worst part of the film came after Seed of Chucky, years later. As the film had time to ruminate, people were talking about it, and eventually Don Mancini was taken to task on the film, and rather than admit the film's flaws, take one on the chin, take the L, and just kind of move forward and forget about all that stuff, he doubles and triples down, acts like it's some sort of genius satire when everybody can smell it from a mile away. Still, again, I get some enjoyment out of it. I'm a traditional Chucky guy. If I can get some Chucky, it's better than no Chucky. I just don't revisit this one a lot. That might change in the future, but I do revisit it more than the 2019 remake as of now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Number 7 for me is the Chucky TV show. I know it's on the back half of my ranking, but I still think that there's a lot to be enjoyed with the TV show. There's tons of nasty kills in the show, and there's some really mean-spirited gore effects. I think that the special effects team are really pushing the envelope as to what we can expect from the Chucky franchise. They've got a lot more room to play, and they really go crazy here. They give us some gnarly set pieces, like a bunch of Chuckies arguing in the back of a truck, to Chucky crawling around a movie theater, killing movie theater patrons. Even some new stuff where it's like minor details, like faces that Chucky makes. All of that is great. Every week, that's what I was really coming back for. The show ended up being a little bit imbalanced, and mostly that was because it was paralleled with some side characters that I really found uninteresting and, to be honest, boring. I really liked Jake. He was a great character, but aside from him, I just really wasn't connecting with those teen characters. I really feel like the creators squandered a golden opportunity. I know that Jake serves as an autobiographical stand-in for Don Mancini, but I think it would be interesting as a standalone film. It's powerful, and a lot of the imagery, with the sculpting and the dolls and stuff like that was great. Paralleling it with Chucky, which is a nearly 40-year-old property, we've been waiting for something like this for a long time. It's called Chucky. It's not called Chucky and Friends. The opportunity that they had here was to turn Chucky into almost like a Deadpool character. He's at the forefront of the series now. He's taking us through different situations, breaking the fourth wall, being that guy that we've already been rooting for so long. People are coming to the series to see Chucky. I know that sounds a little bit greedy. I mean no disrespect to anybody involved in the show. I watched all 3 seasons and I enjoyed it. I just think that the series is at its best when Chucky's in the driver's seat. Number 6 for me is Cult of Chucky. When this movie was announced, I was really excited. The title itself was pretty intriguing because it just suggested, a broader expansion into new territory, which Curse really did well to that, where movies like Seed of Chucky had failed. More of new stuff. That sounded great to me. The multiple Chucky aspect was really cool. You can kind of take your pick and find your favorite. Mine's the severed head Chucky. The sequence with Andy and the severed head at the beginning of the movie is probably the best part, but it also points out one of the glaring flaws of the film. With Andy's whole storyline, it's just kind of left out to dry. Colt really sets up a ton of stuff and fails to deliver upon it, and in doing that, it sort of tells on itself. I don't really know where this production lines up to the TV series, but with 3 seasons in your back pocket watching Cult of Chucky, you can't help but get the feeling that it's just kind of a trampoline to the TV series. I just feel like in the end, Cult of Chucky leaves you wanting more in all of the worst ways, and that's why it's number 6 for me. Coming in at number 5 for me is Bride of Chucky. Now, I know that could be a controversial opinion. For a lot of fans, it's their number 1 on their list, and it makes sense to me, but it just doesn't really hit for me like it does for other people. I can't proceed without giving it the proper respect. When this film came out, it made a lot of Chucky fans excited, and it also brought generations of fans who hadn't seen the other films before, and just made a whole slew of new fans that sort of reignited the need for this kind of film. You have to give Bride of Chucky that respect, no matter what you feel about it. As I look at the film, a lot of what I hold against it is similar to what I hold against the television show, which is any characters throughout Bride of Chucky that aren't Chucky or Tiffany are essentially just hollow and uninteresting. I need to pump the brakes though. Alexis Arquette's character, she's great in the film for the brief moment that she's there. Rest in peace to Alexis, as well as John Ritter's character. I really love John Ritter's character in the film. Rest in peace to him as well. But aside from those two brief cameos, there really just isn't a lot to chew on with the side characters. And I think that what that does is it dilutes the best parts of the film, which is Chucky and Tiffany, the banter between them. I don't think there's anyone else in the world that could have played Tiffany better than Jennifer Tilly. She's amazing in this film. The sort of comedic setups that we get from that. And I mean, Chucky on the road, that's a great idea. It sets up so much. But with that being said, I don't really like the tilt towards comedy as much. It's just not my bag. I love horror comedies, but I think that a lot of what makes the best ones great is the balance that they strike, and they have to make a choice. Very early on in the series, it just seemed like horror was the choice and comedy was sort of the underpinning. And with Bride of Chucky, I think that they took that and flipped it on its head, which many people think is a good thing. For me as a viewer, not so much. I get a lot less American Werewolf in London horror comedy and more Team America World Police, which is no horror at all. I still love the movie. I'm just not a huge fan. Part of that is because as I watch it, I constantly can hear the criticisms of Seed of Chucky in my head, all while hearing the cheers and the resounding praise for Bride of Chucky. When all those people who hate Seed of Chucky and love Bride of Chucky know, this film is a predicate for Seed of Chucky. It was the love and the admiration of this film that bore Seed of Chucky. You can't sit here and heap praise upon Bride of Chucky without also saying that because we so loved this film, Don Mancini took that as an endorsement to go even further beyond that border. Again, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. Again, this is all opinion based. If you're upset by that, whatever. When it comes down to it, I just don't like Bride of Chucky as much as I like the films in front of it, and I don't rewatch it as often. I still love it, but it's number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list is Curse of Chucky. I remember first seeing the marketing back when I was in college. I was immediately intrigued. It looked like a true return to form for Chucky, which at least the form established in those first 3 Child's Play films, which was, a more horror-centric Chucky. It has an atmosphere that is completely unmatched. There isn't a film before it or after it that has the unique sense of atmosphere that Curse of Chucky has, and you have to give it respect for that. It took the franchise in new directions. That haunted house aesthetic. There's this sort of gray, dreary veil throughout. That's really, again, something we've never seen before in a Chucky film, and they do it so perfectly here. The careful placement and movement of the camera really nails down that steady pace. And for me, when I watch the film and I see how Mancini used the camera to help tell his story, I can't help but feel he's sort of evoking a bunch of classic cinema that you wouldn't necessarily think a Chucky film would evoke. I'm talking horror cinema like the Amityville Horror, The Changeling, The Haunting of Julia, Rosemary's Baby. These are all set in confined spaces, but the spaces are so filled with secrets and mystery that even though some of the secrets aren't revealed, it still adds to this overall sense of something isn't right. And I think they really nailed that down in Curse. There is one thing about it that sort of grinds my gears, so to speak, and that's when you watch it and you notice that Mancini just felt the need to sort of reach back into time and grab part of the original storyline and just tweak it a little bit to almost make Curse of Chucky make sense. In my opinion, you don't need to do that. I mean, we've suspended our disbelief in this series enough that there's really no need for you to retcon anything just to make it all make sense. There's really no bow to be tied on top of this gift. It's very reaching and it sort of screams desperation. Whereas if you take that out and you let the imagery speak for itself, you don't need that stuff. Curse of Chucky delivers on a lot of really solid aspects that horror fans were waiting for a long time. Something else must be said about Curse of Chucky, and that is that it introduced us to the beautiful Fiona Dourif. In my opinion, it deserves high marks just for that alone. Coming in at number 3 for me is Child's Play 3. I love this film. It's ripe with nostalgia for me. I know a lot of people have it high on their list like I do, but there are also some who, put it down at the bottom. I don't understand that, but I do see the flaws in the film, and they do become a little harder for me to stomach as time goes on. mainly the setting. It's very rushed. As everyone knows, they rushed this film into production, less than a year after the second film came out. So it's obvious there. It's very underwhelming. I think that the filmmakers agree. All the best parts take place away from the military school. The very beginning in the toy executive's office, the carnival at the very end, that legendary stuff. Chucky and Andy's confrontation happens in Andy's dorm. Could happen in a bedroom, could happen in an apartment. The great parts with the barber. Doesn't have to be military barber, could be any barber. Also, I'm gonna kind of beat the same drum as I have with all the other entries about side characters. Tyler, very off-putting. I understand you could argue, the themes of being a kid, not wanting to let go of your childhood, but it's just destroyed when you look at a character like De Silva, who's like a 20-year-old chick playing a teenager. The jump forward in time with Andy just leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I think despite all of that, though, there's great kills. Any time that Chucky's on screen, he's dynamite, he's a home run. It's hard for me to rewatch the first two films without following up with Child's Play 3. That's why it's number 3 on my list. The top 2 spots on my ranking constantly change, but currently number 2 on my list is Child's Play 2. When I look back at the original 3 films in the Child's Play franchise, I think that they rank up there with the Halloween franchise or the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, in so much that the first 3 films in those series are just great from back to back to back. Child's Play 2 specifically, why I think it's so great is it recognized what was so good about the original and it escalated that. It put Chucky at the forefront. Everything with him on screen is great. Also, Alex Vincent, this time around, his performance is much more nuanced. A child who's lost a lot of his adolescence, just clawing as hard as he can to get some of it back, and he's just taking strays from every direction. Christina Elise as Kyle, what a legendary character. I wish she was in the series a lot more. The character actors we get here on some of these side characters, I really beat up on some other entries in the franchise for having some crappy side characters. You cannot say that about Child's Play 2. The foster parents, the dad played by Garrett Graham. He's in one of my favorite films, Phantom of the Paradise by Brian De Palma. He's in Terror Vision, a bunch of other great stuff. You get Jenny Agutter from American Werewolf in London. She's in Logan's Run and a Nicholas Roeg film called Walkabout. We get Sarah Palmer from Twin Peaks, Grace Zabriskie. She did some work with David Lynch as well in Wild at Heart. It's just some seasoned actors playing these side character roles, and they do so well to hold enough weight to keep the parts without Chucky interesting. They're not boring, they're convincing enough, but they don't draw the attention away too much. Child's Play 2 is made by Chucky, but it's also bolstered by those great side characters, so I gotta give it credit there. The colors in this film, it is so polished with these pastel colors. It's very off-putting. When you add in that Tinker Toy score, it just makes it a whole new nightmare. Well, fast forward to that final confrontation, it's so great, but it also is sort of sad because when you get to that point, you sort of realize that Child's Play 2 is pretty quick to its end. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the shortest of all the films in the series. I think it comes in at like an hour and 23, 24 minutes, something along those lines. That's a breakneck pace. And I'm not saying that I think that the film should be longer, but I think the film should be longer. An extra 3 to 5 minutes here or there, a few more drawn out confrontations with Chucky, maybe a little bit more details on some side characters even. A lot of other entries in the franchise leave you wanting more in the worst ways, but Child's Play 2 just does so much right. Currently, it's number 2 on my list, but next month it could be number 1. It probably will be. Again, right now it's number 2, but all the respect in the world to Child's Play 2. It's amazing. I rewatch it multiple times every year, so there you have it. At this current point in time, my favorite Child's Play film is the 1988 original. I really love the score in this film. And when you compare it to the score in Child's Play 2, that score is a lot more whimsical and sort of playful, whereas the score in the original sets up this dreadful fairy tale-like atmosphere right from the very beginning, and I think it subliminally preps the viewer to slowly suspend their disbelief as the story progresses, because in the beginning it starts out as somewhat of like a crime thriller, but then bends into this twisted, dark fable. I think Tom Holland did an amazing job of pacing the film. That first hour or so as he sort of toys with the audience, I know that none of us are fooled. We all know where it's going to end up. But I think that that pacing really sets up the reveal of Chucky. It's one of the greatest monster reveals in horror cinema history. You have to give respect to Alex Vincent as Andy. I know that his cadence can be a little bit cringy here, but we have to remember he was a child. He's great as a sort of sensitive, lonely, over-imaginative little boy who has one foot in reality reality, feels a sort of responsibility to take care of his mother, and then his head is in the clouds dreaming about toys. And I know that, his performance, those aspects of it are a bit subtle, but I think the subtleties of it are very impressive. Being, just a little kid who just showed up and did what he was told in front of the camera, there's still a little bit of nuance there. Also, Catherine Hicks, she's incredible as this, tired mother being pulled in all these different directions. Also, Chris Sarandon as Mike Norris. Why did we not get Mike Norris in more films? When you look at the history of Charles Lee Ray with Mike Norris, I think like a Loomis Michael Myers setup that we could have had there. I also think the original Child's Play has some really great thriller moments that harken back to the sort of 1970s and early 1980s crime films, like the scene with Chucky in the car with Mike Norris. They're speeding down the highway in this car, whereas in a film like The French Connection or To Live and Die in LA, you get these cars chasing each other on the road. But in Child's Play, it's sort of a horror twist on it. The car's speeding down the road and the chase is happening within the car. Chucky's trying to stab him through the seats, and then the car flips. It becomes another version of this sort of cat and mouse back and forth thing. The elevator scene where Karen is chasing Chucky down the stairs and he's riding the elevator and she's just doing everything she can to try to intercept him before he gets out that door. I think that's Tom Holland's best De Palma impression, and I love every minute of it. There's plenty of themes throughout the film that are sort of bubbling beneath the surface. I think the two that stand out the most to me are first the sort of predatory nature of consumerism and how they exploit children, and also the sort of role reversal of what happens when a family dynamic changes. Sometimes the caretaker role is switched, and I mean that's exemplified in that beginning scene where Andy is cooking his exhausted mother breakfast and nearly burns the apartment down. But again, I don't think that the film hammers these themes too much. It doesn't try to be deeper than it really is, and I think that that's a success for the original Child's Play, because at its core, it's a great horror film that introduced us to an iconic movie monster, and as a result of that, traumatized generations of children for years and years to come. So that's my ranking of the Child's Play franchise. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to share your personal rankings with me if you'd like. If you made it this far as well, consider liking, leaving a comment on the video, or even subscribing to the channel for more content like this. I want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for your time, and stay safe out there.